And let's talk to Robert Oxley, who's from the TaxPayers Alliance. Hello, Robert.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Good afternoon. Should we be building the HS2?
I don't think we should be, and I think it's more than just those people affected by the construction works who should be worried about this, because we're all going to end up paying for this line. It's going to be a white elephant. It's going to cost every family in this country at least £1,500.
Whoa. Let me stop you there.
Yeah, there you go there. Over £50 billion. And the problem is the government, what they're doing is they're basing this business case, the reason to put the line, on some very dodgy assumptions. And they've underestimated the cost of the line, and now they're having to row back from that and admit that actually it's going to go up. And we've seen this happen over the last couple of weeks. And they're also hugely overestimating the benefits, and they're ignoring the fact that some parts of the country are going to get a worse service. You know, the average business passenger using this line is going to be earning £70,000, and they're still going to face a 27% fare inflation. What we're seeing is families, ordinary families from Clapham to Camden, from Coventry to Newcastle, who are going to be paying a lot of money for this line. It isn't going to deliver the results, and it's only going to benefit a fortunate minority. So I think we should be opposing HS2, and importantly, when you're making this big kind of infrastructure decision, you've got to make sure you get the decision right. This is one of the biggest infrastructure projects this country's ever decided on.
On the few occasions I'd even paid attention to this before I realised it was really affecting North London, again, entirely my own ignorance on this front, I've yet to hear a single argument that from anybody who thinks this is a good idea. Who came up with this, and why this project rather than any other?
Well, look, this was originally a policy of the last government, and it was championed by Lord Adonis. And even ministers back in that government, now like Tom Harris, a former rail minister, he's actually said this is the wrong decision. And the problem is that the proponents of HS2 haven't made a comprehensive case. In fact, it's quite clear that their business case is based on some dodgy assumptions. They assumed that when we're on the train, that none of us work. That's one of the ways they kind of arrive to this idea of how much we would benefit from going from Birmingham to London half an hour faster. They've had to now suddenly admit that that wasn't the right assumption to make. They've had to admit that to a parliamentary committee, and now having to rejig all their numbers. So the weak business case for HS2 is getting even weaker.
How important is it that people travelling between Birmingham and London get there that bit earlier?
Well, it is one of the fastest lines already. And
well, that's what I thought. Whenever I've had to do that journey, I'm always amazed by how quick the journey is.
It is one of the fastest lines already. We are a relatively small country, given the high-speed, the case for high-speed rail. And in fact, there was a much stronger economic case behind High-Speed 1, the link between London and Paris. At that point, you were competing against people who might fly, and you were opening up basically another continent. And even with the stronger economic case for that line, HS1 hasn't done well. It's again failed to deliver on politicians' promises, leaving families picking up the bill. And yet this is what we're seeing again, is HS2. There's this cosy political consensus where politicians are pressing ahead with their vanity project, which is going to be a white elephant. It's going to cost every family a huge amount of money. And there has been consistent opposition, and we are seeing more and more people wake up to the fact this isn't working.
Well, including me. Can I just say one thing? The budget now is £42.6 billion. Listen, I've just even putting in a bathroom or a kitchen, or anyone who's had put a patio in will know that whatever the cost is in advance, add 50% at least.
Well, it's things that ministers went round during the time when they were struggling to get HS2 through. They made a variety of promises, and they've kind of underestimated some of the impacts on London. So you can expect another £10 billion on Crossrail 2. Euston will have to be completely redesigned. Various areas to mitigate environmental impacts like cuttings, verges. That's extra billions of pounds, which ministers have made promises to various areas to try and keep them on side about not receiving a worse service, which is all going to stack up. So even on their own estimates, they've increased the total cost to about £45 billion. That's £8 billion more than the last time. They haven't included the cost of the actual trains, the actual rolling stock. And yet we know that there are many other hidden costs that politicians are hiding away for, all along costing families a lot of money and only benefiting a very small number of people. We need to get infrastructure projects in this country right. There are millions of rail users there who receive at the moment terrible service. People who are stuck on overpacked, poor service commuter lines who would think, actually, that kind of level of investment could be spent more wisely, could be spent more efficiently, and not cost us so much in the process.
And as you say, benefit people an awful lot more. Lovely to talk to you, Robert Oxley from the TaxPayers Alliance. Not many people who are in favour of this.